welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen. With me today is longtime listener, poet laureate, and tie master Anne-Marie Young. This is your Daily Dose of Happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today. And Anne-Marie, while we were chatting before we got started here, you heard that our guest today lives in the one state that I have not been to that I love.
You best become friends so you can go and visit.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to that. I'm hoping it's going to come relatively soon. But at the very least, today we get to have a taste of what it's like to talk with somebody who is in the beautiful, enchanted Hawaiian Islands. And her name is Angie Hawkins. And Angie, welcome to the program. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you. And there's a whole thing that you do that you tie into the brand name Dancing in Slippers. There's a story behind that, I'm sure. We want to start with the story first to find out how that came about. But I do have to give you my opinion that I love that name. That's a good name.
Well, it's actually Running in Slippers, but I also love Dancing in Slippers.
Well, then I wrote it down wrong. But yeah, well, maybe that's the sequel.
That's because you're a dancer. You've got dancing on the mind.
I apologize. Running in Slippers. Well, actually, that's hard to do because they're slippery.
Well, so I'll get into the backstory about how it came about, and I won't tell the exact story about the situation how I came up with the name, because that is actually the introduction of the book. But the title Running in Slippers. So I live in Hawaii and we call flip-flops slippers. So it actually means running in flip-flops. And that's why my website is also called Running in Slippers, because that's also my brand. Because running in slippers is a metaphor for life, because running in slippers, just like life, can be fun, playful, and adventurous, but it can also be scary, playful, and dangerous.
That's actually reassuring because, first of all, slippers or flip-flops, as we know them, they have a little bit of adhesion to them, so you're not likely to slip and fall on your butt. That's a good thing right there.
Yeah, but you could trip.
That's what I was originally envisioning, you see,
Yeah.
So there is that, but there's also what you just alluded to, and it is the more serious side, that everything in life is based on what we often call polarity or contrast. We live in a world of polarity and contrast, and you've kind of grasped that and put it into your company identity.
Yeah, because my whole brand is about real life, and to play the game of life, you have to take the risk of falling and getting injured, because that's how we learn and grow and, reach the magic of things.
Right. So tell us the story.
So the story begins, and as I'm talking through the story, I'll talk about how the book originated and where the actual story of the book starts. But I do allude to my childhood in the book. But my story starts in my childhood. I grew up in a home. Both of my parents the short story is they were emotionally unavailable. So as an adult, I understand what that means. But as a child, I didn't have the tools to interpret the situation. So how I understood it as a 6-year-old or however old I was, I thought I didn't deserve to be loved. So I grew up with this limiting belief that I didn't deserve to be loved. And as you're aware, your beliefs dictate your behaviors, which dictate what you experience in your life. So needless to say, I struggled for a very long time in my life because I was a people pleaser. I thought I had to earn love and approval. I was always a high achiever in school and work, always trying to achieve things outside of myself because I didn't believe that I was inherently worthy, or I didn't think I had any worth without these external things. And I was very unhappy and unfulfilled for a very long time, but I just didn't even think, because of this limiting belief, I didn't even think it was happiness and fulfillment were something that were even available to me. So that was my mindset for a very long time. And the first turning point came in 2017. My boyfriend broke up with me, and then my dad passed away. And I was 37 at the time, and I had spent 37 years running away from my feelings and trying not to feel my feelings. But at that point, it was just impossible because I was in such profound grief. And this is where the idea for the book actually came about, because we live in a just get over it society. So after a few months, people just expected me to get over it and be happy again. And I wasn't, but I was a pro at putting on my happy face and pretending everything was okay. So that's what I did. But I just felt such a disconnect between how I was feeling in real life, or what we perceive as real life, because I would go on Instagram and everyone would be talking about how great their life is. But of course that's all filtered and edited. But the truth is real life, because other people are putting on their happy faces and pretending everything's okay. So I had this idea for a book. I was like, I want to write a book about, because life is hard. So I was like, I want to write about the hard things that happen in life and like the hard experiences that we go through, because people aren't talking about this. But this was at a time in my life where I didn't have the confidence. I was terrified of allowing myself to be seen. So it was just the idea that I had. And then, again, I was in this profound grief. I didn't have the tools for emotional regulation. So basically, I just felt like crap for the rest of the year. Wow. And then 2018 started and I was like, okay, I need to make some changes in my life. And so I was living in Chicago, and that's when I decided I wanted to move to Hawaii. And it was well-intentioned in the sense that I was proactively trying to make changes in my life. And I was actually taking agency over my own life, because before I was more playing the victim of this is how it is. But it wasn't well-intentioned in that I was still reaching for things outside of myself to be the thing that made me feel better. And you can't move away from your problems. So I moved here. I still had the exact same problems. And not only that, I developed a whole new set of problems because, for example, this was 2018. So it was before remote work was the trendy thing to do. I was very fortunate. My job allowed me to move here and work remotely. However, when I moved, there was a huge management shakeup, and it threatened my role. So the first year that I lived here, again, I was kind of in this victim mentality. I felt like that was the only job available to me. So the first year that I lived here, I was in constant fear of losing my job. And another thing that happened right off the bat, I had a really hard time making friends, which that had never been a problem for me in Chicago, and being thousands of miles away from anyone I knew, it just felt very lonely and isolating.
I bet.
And the other major thing that happened right off the bat was, to prove how committed and all in I was on my decision, I bought a new condo when I moved here. But then a month after I closed, a shared pipe in the building backflowed into my bathroom sink. I wasn't home and my entire condo flooded. So that was my initiation. All of those things were my initiation to Hawaii. And then over the next 2 years, it was like thing after thing after thing. Like my grandma died, because I was relying on these external things to be my source of happiness, and everything outside of me was falling apart, my internal world slowly was falling apart. And then COVID happened. So I don't think I have to explain how that exacerbated the issue. But then the straw that broke the camel's back was the end of a relationship during COVID. And I had this moment where, and I think we all have this moment where it's like, I can't take this anymore, because life just gets really overwhelming and difficult. But layered on top of that was a feeling of sheer hopelessness. And that's a really dangerous place to be, because I could not see any hope for the future. So I intentionally overdosed on my anxiety medication. I spent a day and a half unconscious in my bathroom. I spent another day and a half in the hospital. And after I was released from the hospital, I called a friend and I told her everything that happened. And I ended with, I can't believe I didn't die. And her response was, it's not your time. And that was so profound to me. And I really took her words to heart. And I was like, okay, I think I have a purpose, and I'm going to figure out what that is. And that completely changed my mindset from this victim mentality of things are happening to me and I have no control over it, to me deciding I want to have agency over my life and actually get help and live life the right way.
I'm always amazed when I hear a story that talks about a turning point like that, where literally your entire mindset shifted, as you described, away from a victim mentality into I have a purpose. I've heard that story many times.
Yeah.
But each time I think, whoa, what happened?
And it's almost like out of a movie, right? Because she could have said a lot of things. She could have said, you're okay now, or you're meant to be here. But it was just like the impact of those specific words that really made me think.
And the timing, I'm sure, also makes a difference too. But still, it's
Yes.
an amazing combination.
Yeah.
And yet that became your launch point. Now, I'm willing to bet this is an easy bet. This is a sucker bet. I'm willing to bet that even though that was a pretty miserable part of your life, that's the one thing that you would never want to trade in for anything.
Yeah. Because a lot of people ask me, like, what would you do differently? Or what would you tell if you could go back and tell yourself something in that moment? Like, yeah, I would not change anything. I would not go back and warn myself because it was the worst experience of my entire life, but it was also the biggest gift. So I would not change it at all.
Yeah, that theme plays out over and over again. That's why I said it was kind of a sucker's bet. I mean, literally everybody who ever told the story has that kind of a thing that comes after it. I think probably because they survived long enough to actually come onto the podcast. That's probably part of the story. But nevertheless, you go through something like that. It is soul defining. It's life defining when you go through something like that. And there have actually been times, I mean, I've been through my share of stuff for sure, but there have been times where I said to myself, well, where's my turning point? I mean, you actually have a turning point you can point to. I'm not sure that I can point to one.
But do you need one? And that's why I share my story, because sometimes I think you can leverage other people's. Because again, I wouldn't trade my rock bottom moment in my own life, but I don't wish that upon other people. So I tell my story so they can leverage mine and take my turning point as their own.
Yeah, I guess the closest thing I can point to a turning point for me was my entire business got wiped out with the 2008 financial crisis. And
that sounds horrible.
It was pretty horrible, but I spent the next 4 years in horror. I mean, the horror didn't end there. So it's not like it was a point. It was like a whole stream of time.
Well, in all fairness, though, my rock bottom didn't end there, because I invested in myself and I hired a coach and got help, but it took time to pull myself out of that.
Yeah. What was that, Anne-Marie?
I was just going to add, this podcast came from that. So this was your rebirth.
This is the rebirth, no doubt about that. Yeah. But I can't point to one. Like, she can point to one event.
Yeah.
Joel can do the same thing. He can point to his one event. I can't point to one event. I mean, it's spread out over a 4 to 5 year period.
Well, maybe you started doing the work before.
Yeah, right. It was an era.
You have a turning era.
I have a turning era, yes. Well, some of us take a little time to go through our turning point. Maybe that's what it is. But the point is, you did come through it, and you came through it the other side, and you ended up doing, well, most people do something similar when they come through some sort of major transition like that. In your case, you took it, you went to a large step situation. You took large leaping steps, and your leaping step took you in a really interesting direction. It took you into the direction of building what you call fierce self-love and vulnerability. And I find that fascinating. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, so part of my aftermath journey, it wasn't only healing myself and actually getting to the root of my problems and why I was the way I was and turning that around. But, in my friend's words, it's not your time. It really made me start thinking about, like, what is my purpose here? Because I do believe I have a purpose and it wasn't my time. So I was like, okay, so what is my purpose? So I can start living that out and fulfill my purpose on this earth. And on my very first call with my coach, he was like, if you could do anything and didn't have to worry about money, what would you do? And the first thing that came to me was the book, Running in Slippers, which at that time it did not have a title, but I was telling him, I was like, I have this idea. It's a memoir. And instead of covering all the great periods of my life, it actually covers all of the shitty periods. And because that's the stuff that nobody's talking about. And then I want to go on book tours and have these safe spaces where people can be vulnerable and talk about these hard times in their life and not feel like they have to cover it up with filters or edits or a happy face. And I was like telling him all about my vision. And he was like, did you see how lit up you just got when you were talking about it? And I did notice my state change. And so, in doing the inner work, it does take time. And in my initial weeks and even months after I got out of the hospital, my only goal was to make it through the day. Like that's how fragile my life felt at the time. So I started writing my book because I was like, I think this is my purpose. And so that's what gave me my initial sense of purpose. And that's actually what gave me the motivation to publish it, because it is very vulnerable. But my whole goal is to connect through vulnerability, because we don't connect through putting on our happy faces and pretending everything is fine. We connect through having these human experiences, because even you talking about how like I lost my whole business in 2008 and it took me 4 years to build it back up. Like that's
no, it took me 4 years to begin to build it up. I mean, it was like 4 years of hell.
Yeah, but that, like, to me, like that's what connects me to you as a human being. Like if you told me, like before we even started recording, you were telling me about your travels and stuff, and like, yeah, that's nice, but I don't even connect to you as a human being until you tell me something like that about your life.
Well, of course, we were drama oriented. We love drama.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. That's where most of us spend most of our time, both in our entertainment, in our world of business, in our families. We're drama queens.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of us like to say we're not, but we really are.
I think it's because we like to see that other people don't have it all together. Because like nobody does, really. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when you know that they're just as messed up as you are in some ways, you feel better. Like, oh, okay, I guess I didn't screw up that bad then.
Do you think,
like, admittedly, yeah, I think that is the reason.
Do you think there's a lot to do with social media? There's a lot of people out there portraying that they're living their best life and it's only the best, and your life feels like it's a bit of a mess and everybody else is tickety-boo.
I think there's a lot of that going on. And even in my social media, I try to be very transparent. But again, I live in Hawaii. I cannot tell you how many people have made comments to me like, oh, your life is so perfect because you live in Hawaii, or you're so lucky that you live in Hawaii. So they still, even though I'm describing the challenges I'm going through while living here, people still have that image and thing that they project onto you. So there's a lot of that going on in social media.
Not just in social media. That's going to apply
in real life. Yeah.
They think you're having a year-long holiday every year.
Yeah. People honestly think I have no problems at all. And it's funny because like how I just described to you guys, my problems actually got worse before they got better. And even now, like, because I have done the inner work, I am in a state where I am happy and fulfilled most of the time. But that's because of my inner world. Like I can go anywhere in the world and still feel that way. It has nothing to do with where I'm living. Although I do love surfing, so that does help that I live in a place where I'm able to do that. But again, like part of my whole, approach to life, and this is what I work on with my coaching clients, is to do at least one thing a day that brings you joy. So surfing is my thing. So I just happen to live in a place where I can, enhance my happiness and fulfillment.
I forgive me. I have to do stereotypical for a minute. Have you ever actually surfed the pipeline? I just gotta know whether or not.
No, I'm not that.
I don't blame you. I'm not saying that you should. I'm just asking.
Yeah, I've watched, but I have not actually surfed it myself.
Yeah, I don't blame you. That's for the seriously trained and quite honestly insane to do.
No, agree. Yes.
I mean, it's cool to watch, but yeah, it's not something I would ever recommend to anybody, even though I'd want to go to the North Shore.
Yeah, and I don't even know. Like, I do hope to improve my surfing skills as I move along in life, but I don't think that's something I ever aspire to do.
And there's no need to, really.
Yeah, I don't need
Like
to
I
prove
said, it's
anything.
stereotypical. It's just I
Yeah.
mean, that's what we see on television. So, well, that's what everybody does in Hawaii. No. Actually, there's probably 10 people in Hawaii who do it, maybe 20.
Yeah, and actually a lot of people who surf, like the big surf on the North Shore, they don't actually live here. They're coming from other places.
Oh, of course.
'Cause
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's an international surfing destination.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the most popular places.
Yeah. It's also on the world tour, I believe. But yeah, it's quite understandable. So anyway, sorry, that was a distraction. Let's get back to the main
No, that's
topic.
I was
okay.
gonna say, I'm just thinking about cocktails on the beach. That's why I chose Hawaii. With the flower behind my hair, like you.
So you would be a good spectator. Yeah.
Well, let's go back to the thing that you mentioned about social media, because obviously that's something that's on a lot of people's minds. I'm seeing people even complaining about social media a lot more often than, say, even during the pandemic, or even just before the pandemic. It's become like the latest thing to get frustrated about in a big way, and to complain about, and to say, oh, that this stuff is terrible and so forth. It's like anything else, though. I mean, you can be on social media or not on social media, and really, like you said earlier, it's what you bring to it. It isn't the social media itself. But we don't often see it that way, do we?
No, I like that, because I made a comment earlier. I said social media, and you were like, well, it's like that in real life. And I think what's going on in social media is also very true of real life, because you can have a community of people, and there are people who will be judgy and negative and have the negative comments, but you also have the people who are loving and supportive. So it's actually very similar to society. I think it's just exacerbated because it's just funneled into this one location.
And to be fair, I mean, the way social media is structured in terms of the programming, it goes out of its way to present to you the things that will piss you off the most.
Yes.
I mean, it is structured that way. It's kind
there
of
is intentionality to it. Yeah.
Well, there's definitely, it's like law of attraction on the negative side.
Yes. But I think also some of it is unintentional. Like, so for instance, like I said, me, and I think there's other people doing this. It's like they're just proud of being on vacation and posting all their happy pictures. Yeah. And that doesn't mean they're intentionally trying to filter away the negative stuff. But there are people who are intentional about, like, I'm going to present this facade that's not actually true.
There are a lot of people who post that way. I was referring to more, how does the media itself decide what to show you first? It always shows you first the one that's going to push your buttons the hardest, which is, par for the course.
Yeah, because there's also the algorithm with social media, because I think we have more of a choice in real life what we are presented with. Yeah.
In fact, we now have that as a word in the English language. I have a tech background, so 25 years ago, I knew what an algorithm was. Now everybody not only knows what it is, they use the word like it's an everyday word, which blows my mind, let me tell you. Because there was a time I'd use the word and they say, huh, what's that? And now people actually understand, and I don't have to explain it or anything. It's pretty wild. But algorithms are not only, they're not only useful in the computer world, they're also useful metaphorically. Because algorithm is actually a way of describing the pre-programming that goes on in our lives, that we do within our lives ourselves, and that we engage in with other people's. This is like an algorithm society we live in. We're dealing with everybody else's algorithms.
I love that, because actually real life is an algorithm, because because you can be intentional about who you surround yourself with. But again, going back to my story about the way I was living, I was attracting these negative experiences into my life because I had that limiting belief. And so it was all this, ripple effect of that. So that in itself was an algorithm.
Yeah. Yeah. And now we're actually having to face the fact that we are all experiencing algorithms in every areas of our life, not just in social media. And a lot of us are saying, I don't like this. This isn't fair.
But you just like you can change your social media algorithm, you can change your life algorithm.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but that's the hard message that people are coming face to face with in ways that scares the crap out of them.
Yeah, change.
And I'm sympathetic. I know what they feel like. You and I, Anne-Marie, we've all been through that. Those of us who are on this program, but the vast majority of society, they haven't necessarily been down that entire path. So it's scary. It's a scary thing if you don't know what you're doing and how to handle it and what to do with it and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. So let's talk about, what we can advise them, because you've been there. You've done, you got the t-shirt.
Yes, been there, done that. Well, for me, it was helpful in the sense that in doing the inner work, because I was working in corporate America for a very long time. I actually worked in the tech industry too, but my
Did you?
role was
Okay.
finance. Yeah.
Okay.
But coming into my authentic self, I just realized how disconnected I was from my work. And that really wasn't aligned with who I was. I was basically just doing it because I was following these arbitrary societal rules of like, you should go to college, you should get a good job, you should be doing all these things. And I just realized that wasn't aligned for me. So I quit corporate America and I became a women's coach. I call it inner glow coaching because it's helping women go through the same transformation that I went through, from having that low self-worth and dimming your light and chasing love and approval and everything outside of yourself, to actually radiating confidence from within and having that love and light from within and creating the ripple effect from the inside out.
I love that term, inner glow. The reason I say that is you have an outer glow too. I mean, so that comes through on the video, and I hear the inner glow in the way you express yourself. So you've got both going on. But
thank you for saying that, because that's good advertising, because my whole concept is, it's based on this concept of shining from the inside, because we're all born with this light inside of us. And as we go through life, it starts getting dimmed through like society systems and family systems. And you shouldn't be doing this, you should be doing that. And then we become disconnected from who we really are. And I feel like a lot of self-help is geared toward like fixing yourself or changing yourself, but it's really about just coming back home to who you are. And so I call it shining from the inside, because once you love yourself and like are truly shining from that inner glow of love and radiance on the inside, it attracts everything around you. And to your point about like my actual appearance, I'm 45 years old. I surf every day. So I'm in the sun, I'm in the elements. Like I have more skin damage than I ever have, but I get more I get more compliments about glowing and my outward appearance than I ever did before. And it's because of my inner glow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And when the inner glow is in sync, shall we say, with what's going on the outside, which is usually what happens anyway. But when it's in sync in a positive way, let's put it that way, when in a positively reinforcing way, the outer glow glows more.
Yeah. And that's what I always tell all my clients, because they'll come to me and like, oh, I track these unhealthy relationships and I hate my job and whatever. And I'm like, I'm telling you, once you get your inner glow together, that will all change. And it does.
You're reminding me also of someone I know who this person has done all of the externals you can possibly do to try to improve life and make life a better thing and so forth. Not quite so much with the inner work. And the frustration that it has created in this individual is palpable. I mean, you feel it.
Oh, yeah.
And when the inner does come out, when the inner is expressed, it's beautiful, it's wonderful, it's bright, it's gorgeous. But the rest of the time, because it's all been the outer work, it's kind of hidden away, and we don't really see it as much.
Yeah.
You know
and
what I
another
mean?
thing about like the external stuff, it's just very short-lived, and you feel like you're always on this hamster wheel of like trying to achieve. But when it comes from within, it's like nobody can take it away from you, and you don't have anything to prove.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we know something, don't we, Anne-Marie, about having something to prove.
Yeah.
It's one of those very unpleasant, painful things that most of us just try to hide away and not show anybody. I'm just smiling. Everything's just so wonderful.
Just so much easier.
But nevertheless, it has this really unnerving and annoying tendency to pop out anyway. At times that are the most uncomfortable, the most unpleasant, the most irritating, and the most embarrassing.
But I think that's when you learn the most, right? Like,
True.
Well, see, this is my indirect way of talking about vulnerability. That's what I'm trying to get to. I hope you got that.
okay, yes. But I already got the sense that you're a vulnerable person, so I didn't need any more from you. But I appreciate it.
I was just trying to make it an easy layup. That's all.
Yeah.
But let's talk about that piece, because that's where I'm trying to go there. The vulnerability aspect of that inner work is probably the first stumbling block that most people encounter. I could be wrong about that, but I know it was true in my case. I think it's been true in the case of most of the people that we've interviewed here on the show. When we first encountered that idea, it's not even so much an idea, that it's an impression. It's a sense feeling of I'm now becoming more vulnerable. It's probably the first reason that we have to kind of run away from the whole process, to try to avoid doing that inner work, because, well, shoot, why do I want to do this? This is no fun.
Yeah. Well, I think a big part of that, you're absolutely right. A lot of people struggle with that, but I think it has to do with the idea of the mask that we've been wearing to fit into a certain role in our lives. And the irony of this is, a lot of, like, especially a lot of women who come to me, and I struggled with this too. It's like, we want people to love us for who we are so that we don't have to perform and achieve and do all these things. But yet we're wearing this mask and they can't see who we really are. But to take off that mask is terrifying. So that's a huge part in beginning the journey, is learning to take off the mask and letting people see you who you really are. And it's very vulnerable. And some people may still not like you if you take off the mask, and you have to be okay with that. Yeah.
What?
Don't listen to her, Walt. We love you.
But it's true though,
seriously,
right? Like, I find you guys very engaging and lovable and enjoyable, but I'm sure you have people who don't like you, just like there are people who don't like me. But you have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's a hard lesson. Yeah.
But as you were speaking, well, it kind of I was just thinking that that mask is great until that mask doesn't fit, which is exactly what you went into, because when that mask gets so uncomfortable, you're going to have to take it off.
Yeah. And even because I was presented with my rock bottom moment, but there were still residual lessons. Like I said, I was still working in corporate America, and that disconnect I was put face to face with it. And I would love to say, because I had learned my lesson, that I quit immediately and, started my new business, but it still took several months of the universe punching me in the face. Like, no, this is your new direction. Stop refusing the call. So you're still presented with lessons. Yes.
That's one of the annoying things about life. It continuously presents us with lessons, with new experiences to learn from and to grow from and so forth. Like, oh, really? But that's how we stay alive, because we're continuously going through all this stuff.
So you hit,
and that's what. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, no, I was just going to ask. You hit your rock. I've got a bit of a delay, so please excuse me. You hit your rock bottom moment, and then you were told it wasn't your time, and that kind of flickered something in you. But then you say you got these punches from the universe. What was it? Those words, or what was it that kept you going through those punches?
That's a good question, because I did have a specific turning point in my life, and it was my friend saying it's not your time. Because prior to then, when the universe punched me in the face, like, I would truly ignore it. And that's what led to my rock bottom, because not only was I resisting the call, I was just burying it deep and just not even paying attention to it. So, but in the after, there are definitely times I ignore the call or ignore my intuition, but I don't let that go on for too long. And there's several pieces to it. One is that I have learned to trust myself and these callings that come to me. And I know that they're aligned with what I should be doing. And another thing is, no matter how scary or difficult the new path may seem, I trust that I can handle it. Whereas me before, I didn't trust that I could handle learning something new or trying something new, or even that I could handle the emotions that came up during that process. But new me, like I trust, like I can, like for instance, when I started my coaching business, I'm like, I'm the kind of person who can figure things out. You know, I trusted myself to build a new business. And I believed in my purpose so much because I was like, I know there's other women who are struggling with the same things I was struggling with. I know I can help them. And also I knew there would be difficult times, but because I have the tools for emotional regulation, it's like, I trust that I can handle my emotions. So there's just this whole component of trusting myself and knowing that I can handle the challenges. So I may delay the call, but I don't totally ignore it anymore.
Yeah, that kind of describes me actually. For that 4-year period, I delayed for 4 years. It just took me a while, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so some of us just require more punishment.
Yeah. Well, I think I finally have learned, like the universe knows I need like a crystal clear sign. So once I
Mm,
get a few crystal clear signs, I'm like, I'm not ignoring this anymore. Because,
mm,
and another reason is now I like to choose my challenges, because
mm.
before I was letting life hand me challenges and they were very unpleasant. And not to say that choosing my own challenges is a pleasant experience, but it's way more pleasant than getting handed something that,
I agree with that. Yes,
yeah,
by a large amount.
yes,
It's not really a close contest.
agree. So it's like, I'd
Yes.
rather choose my challenges.
Yeah, and it actually can get fun, but it takes a while to get there.
No,
The fun
agree.
stage.
Because when I choose my own, I look at it as an adventure.
Right.
Whereas if it's handed to me, it's like, oh, this sucks.
hmm hmm And when you choose it, initially, I mean, I like the way, I don't know if you're familiar with Mike Dooley. Mike Dooley had a great way of describing
Mm,
this.
okay.
It's the way you tend to experience it in the earliest stages while you're kind of coming to grips with this whole thing. He says in life you can be presented with 3 options. The first one is the crappy option. The second one is the crappier option, and the third is the crappiest option. And that's what you have to choose from.
Yeah. And you just
And
want
you
the
pick
crappy one.
Yeah, you go with the crappy one, and then surprisingly, it turns into a better option at some point.
Mm.
But it didn't present itself that
Yeah, that's true.
Isn't that
And I think
interesting how that works?
yeah, and I think there's like this is my theory. I think you're rewarded for actually choosing your option,
Mm,
because it requires a certain amount of bravery to do that. And so I think there's like a bigger reward on the other side.
mm.
So that's another reason that motivates me to like pick my challenges, because anytime I've done that, I feel like there's a bigger reward on the other side. Like there's just more learning and growth involved.
See, now that's a great thing right there, what you just said. Because when you can reach the point where you see it as this is leading me to a really great result, that's significant.
Yeah.
That's an accomplishment to get there.
But I think I was forced to. So,
Okay, maybe
so that's
accomplishment isn't quite the word, but
yeah, but that's my whole point though. Like that's the whole reason I tell my story though, because it's like, take what I'm saying and implement it into your life, because you don't want to hit rock bottom before you come to these insights.
and yet we do that though. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't remember the last time I had somebody here on the show, for instance, who achieved and realized that they had to turn things around before they hit the rock bottom. I mean, there probably has been a guest who matched
Yeah.
that storyline, but
There's
I
not
can't
many.
remember them. Not many, no.
No.
Yeah. Some of us are just, yeah, that's our destiny.
Well, it also makes me think there's something to the idea that the rock bottom is valuable because it is a rock bottom.
Mm.
Because the interesting thing about rock bottom is it can differ from one person to the next. One person's rock bottom is somebody else's mild. Another
It's true.
person's rock bottom is, oh my God, that's the depths of hell. You know, they're all different. What makes the difference is that it's yours. Oh, lucky you.
No, I like that philosophy. So yeah, maybe the message is learn to experience it instead of resist it.
Mm-hmm. I think it's actually, in my case, it was more, deal with it. Just get through it. This
But that's
too shall
experiencing it,
pass.
right? Yeah.
There is no moment so bad that it doesn't actually get better. It actually does get better at some point. No matter how it seems like it's going the other direction, it does eventually get better. Honestly, I think probably the most important thing is recognizing that it got better.
Well, also, did you ever have that feeling of hopelessness?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
How did you cope with that?
Minute by minute.
Do you think it's having that feeling where you just suddenly realize nobody's going to come and help you, nobody's going to come and fix you? You either suck it up or you have to.
That I know is true for a lot of people. I actually knew that one right out of the gate. That was actually never an option on my table. For me, it was more of, when does this stop? Because like I said, mine lasted 4 years. There wasn't a single point in time. It was just every single day dealing with, I have no idea how to fix this. I have no idea what to do next. And everything I do seems to make things worse. What the hell am I supposed to do for 4 straight years?
That's frustrating.
Interesting.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, the highlight was when I decided to do the podcast, because, and I love the way I tell the story now, Angie. At the time, this was like desperation, but the way I tell it now was I couldn't afford to hire a coach. I couldn't afford to buy a self-help book, but I knew enough tech to figure out how to create my own podcast, even though the tools didn't exist yet. So I figured, okay, I'll do that one.
So what year did you create the podcast?
2012.
And that's when things started turning around for you?
Very slowly. Yes. But as I look back, I can see that's where everything started to improve.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it was a long curve after that too. I mean, there was it was not like there was this big turnaround at some point. That didn't happen. It was like this long, drawn out parabola. Yeah.
So maybe the lesson is actually taking action, because it sounds like something that's similar in both of our experiences is that we kind of like sat in the like, what the hell is going on for a while before we actually took meaningful action. Or I guess meaningful or inspired action is a better way to put it.
Inspired. I was taking lots of meaningful action. It was just not productive action. It didn't work.
Yeah. Interesting.
A lot of it was wheel spinning. I was very good at wheel spinning. I was very good. Oh, I was exceptional at planning. I could plan anything to death. I almost planned my life to death. I mean, I was that good at it. And it wasn't until I let go of the planning that everything started to get better.
See,
Because
and there's probably like a lesson in that too.
Huge lesson. Yeah.
Is that not the same as taking your mask off? You just
pretty much
trusted.
Yeah.
Because I used to be a planner too, and it was because I didn't trust myself to deal with uncertainty. But once you trusted yourself to deal with uncertainty, it probably energetically opened you up to some things.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you have to be willing to take that dare.
Yes.
Do I dare to risk? Oh God. And the funny thing is that when you do finally take the leap of faith, or whatever you want to call it, and it's really hard, that first one. And the second one is really hard, but not quite as hard. And then the third one is also really hard, but again, still not quite as hard as the second one was. And then over time, they start to get easier and easier and easier until you get to a point where, well, shoot, I can do that.
Well, and that exact concept is why in real life, like I've been bungee jumping, I've been skydiving, I've done all these things, but it's not because I enjoy it. It's to get myself out of my comfort zone so hard so that when life presents like actual challenges, I can tell myself, well, I've been bungee jumping, so this is not as scary as that.
Sounds like my brother. My brother is about as remarkable in terms of, having dynamic personality or dynamic lifestyle as you could possibly imagine. But he's the one who jumped out of the airplane. He's the one who went bungee jumping off of a bridge. Yeah. I mean, he did all that, and he did it all in one trip to New Zealand, which I thought was really impressive. He did it all like 3 or 4
Oh
of them in a
yeah.
row. Yeah.
Well, like bungee jumping was allegedly invented in New Zealand. So that's how it came
I believe
about
it
for
is.
me.
I think he actually did at the bridge that it was invented at, actually.
Yeah. Because
So
that's how it came about for me. Because I was like, well, if this is the thing to do, then I'm going to do it. But it was so
Mhm.
terrifying. But then once I did that, I was like, okay, I can go skydiving. I can do all these other things because none of that is as scary as bungee jumping.
So I've got to ask you, how did you get yourself to actually take the step when you went bungee jumping?
Well, a lot of it was mindset because I signed up because I was planning this trip to New Zealand and in researching New Zealand, it's like bungee jumping is the thing to do there. So, months ahead of time behind my computer, it's easy to click the sign up button and pay for it and everything. And they did have a 24-hour cancellation policy. But in my mind, I'm like, I'm not canceling, I'm doing this. But not only that, in my mind, I was like, my entire goal was not only to do it, but I was like, I'm not going to hesitate on the countdown because I didn't want to be one of those people who's just standing on the ledge and there's a whole line behind me of people waiting to go because I'm too scared to do it. So I'm like, I'm not hesitating. I'm just doing it. So that was ingrained in my mind for
smart,
months.
by the way, because that means you didn't terrorize yourself.
Yeah. So the time came. I was fine until I was on deck to go. And I started having a panic attack and I was getting dizzy and nauseous. And I was getting ready to tell the guy, I just need a minute. But then he started counting down. And at like 5, he started at 5 and like 5 and 4, I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't do this. But then because my subconscious was programmed to not hesitate, I'm actually glad I bought a video of it afterward. And the way I jumped is I ran and jumped. And on the replay afterward, I actually started running on 2 and jumped on 1. So not only did I not hesitate on the countdown, I was like a little bit ahead of it because around count 3, I can't even explain it. It was like my brain just kicked in and like did what I had thought about doing for the 3 months prior. So that's like how powerful your subconscious is because it was so programmed in my brain that it was like just an automatic response to run and jump by the time he got to 1.
I'm not sure if that's exhilarating or terrifying.
I was thinking the same thing. So you get to 3, 2, 1, and she's running off across the road or wherever, and just count, and she's off.
Well, all I can think is it's a good thing that you had the experts there who, first of all, knew to tie it to your leg so that you'd be good.
Yeah, I was all strapped in and ready to go. So,
well, I mean, if the subconscious mind is that powerful, who knows what you could do?
I know, like I might have started when the person before me went.
Wait.
But it's empowering enough to jump off the cliff, but to reprogram your brain so well, wow, that's just amazing.
Because I was just like, I'm not hesitating, and I didn't. Yeah.
I will win the lottery. I will win the lottery.
When did you become conscious again after that?
So it wasn't real until my feet were on the ground because I remember they were pulling me up and the girl, because there was a guy and a girl and the girl was the one actually reeling me up. And I was still kind of having an out of body experience. And I remember she asked me like, how are you doing? And I was like, I even said like, ask me when my feet are on the ground because I just like, didn't even feel like I was in my body. But then afterwards, like this, and it wasn't even just the sense of accomplishment, but afterwards, I was just so proud of myself for doing that. And that's the part of it that I take with me because it was terrifying. But again, anytime I do something, I'm like, I've been bungee jumping, like I can handle this. And the thing I actually remember is that sense of pride afterwards. So that's the motivating factor that gets me to do the hard things in life.
Talk about that sense of pride. What was that like?
It was just like, because I had built it up as this scary thing for months and it was scary. But again, it's like, I can handle it. I trusted that I could do it. I trusted that I could handle it. And the whole experience probably took 5 minutes or less. So just the whole idea that it was like this months of buildup of being scared for something that only took a few minutes, just I was able to logically just assign a ridiculousness factor to that. And so I kind of can attach that to other things. It's like we tend to build things up in our head as being like these horrible things, and they may not be as big of a thing in real life. So there's so many lessons to bungee jumping for me. I highly recommend bungee jumping.
What was the dominant emotion? Was it euphoria? Was it relief? Was it fear? Was it what was it?
I would say it was the pride. There definitely
Pride.
During the jump, it was the sheer terror. Like I will never forget that feeling. Once my feet were on the ground, it was the relief, because obviously there is a fear of physical safety, and that's always a risk until your feet are safely on the ground. So there was that relief component, but it was just more that huge sense of pride, because I carry that with me today. Like, whereas like the fear and, physical feeling of a physical unsafety, that was only temporary, but it's like I carry that sense of pride with me.
It's interesting how I found myself wanting to quiz you about this one bungee jump experience that took 5 minutes. Well, I mean,
that was like a huge turning point in my life, because at that point in my life, I did not consider myself courageous, but that gave me the courage to do so many other things in my life.
Which makes sense. Yeah. You've been through that. If you can handle that, what can't you handle? It becomes a very short list at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you find that when you do take on something new that doesn't scare you because you've been through the bungee jumping before, does that create it as a new experience? New meaning a different kind of experience than what it would have been prior? I imagine it must, but I imagine that it must, in your mind, create a much more positive emotional experience to try something new, to take a leap of faith somewhere, knowing that you had that in the background.
I think so, because, for instance, leading up to the bungee jump, there was nothing but fear. So it's like, I can't really describe, because I didn't go over a bridge. I had to like go up a mountain and stuff. But again, I can't describe all the details to you because I was so engrossed in my fear. Whereas now, if I do something scary, I kind of treat it as an adventure. So I'm more absorbed in like what's going on around me. And, like, for instance, like the day I went skydiving, it was like a sunny day. I remember seeing a rainbow. I specifically remember seeing like the outline of the island, which, like we see things on maps, but it's really cool to have that actual aerial view. So it's like I can describe more about the actual experience. So when you take that fear away, it's not blinding you to, like, there's also like beautiful things going on in the moment, but the fear is blinding you to it. So yes, it does open you up to different opportunities that fear would mask.
You're reminding me of an answer that was given by, do you know who Abraham Hicks is?
Yes.
Abraham, okay. Yeah. Mr. Hicks, voicing Abraham, was at one point asked by somebody in the hot seat, given all the trials and tribulations we come through and all the horrible stuff we can experience in life, why do we keep wanting to come back into this life? And Abraham's answer was, what does chocolate taste like? What does the color red look like? What are all the different things you can experience that you can only experience by coming into human form in this life? It sounds like you just identified another one of those chocolates.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that analogy.
Because it was so meaningful. The only way you could experience that would be to come into human form and experience it. That was the only way to do it.
Yeah. Wow, that's so deep. I feel like I'm going to be thinking about that for the rest of the day, because I kind of have deep thoughts sometimes, like, why do we come on this earth? Because there's so many things, but there's also like really good things that we experience that we would not otherwise be able to experience.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I'm probably going to be thinking about that the rest of the day.
Hey, we aim to be. This is your daily dose of happy, after all. So we're just performing our civic role. That's all. No, but seriously, this is like the kind of thing we'd love to do every single time, and we're having so much fun here. The only bad part is when it has to come to an end, and we're getting close to the end of the hour. But we do have a few things we like to do as part of our routine, our ritual for doing these episodes. And the first one that's more important than any of the others, since you have a coaching practice, since you have a book out, since you have different ways that you're reaching out to people, I'm going to go out on a limb and say you like it when people reach out to you. Therefore, we should probably tell them how to reach out to you. How do they reach out to you?
Yes, and I do love it when people reach out to me. The best way is through my website. It's called runninginslippers.com. So there's obviously information about my book, Running in Slippers. It's available on paperback, Kindle, and audiobook. And the audiobook is narrated by me. I know audiobook
Good
listeners
for you.
audiobook listeners appreciate the author narration. And there's also information about my coaching program, my current coaching program. It's called Shine from the Inside, and I help high achieving women transform from stop chasing love and validation from external sources and learn how to start radiating it from within. I do offer a 60-minute, I call it a free Find Your Glow session. We will work on whatever you're struggling with within the 60 minutes. And at the end, I can give you recommendations for going forward. My coaching program is not for everyone. So if it's not for you, I know other therapists and coaches and resources that can help you, because the entire goal of the call is to get you help. Because again, I know that there are many other women who are struggling the way I used to struggle. And let me tell you, that is not necessarily Sari. There is a better way to live. So please reach out to me and I can help you.
I love it. And I love that you said that too about finding the right coach. I found that the best coaches, we've had, as you can imagine, hundreds of coaches here on the show.
Yes.
And the best coaches always say that exact same thing. I don't anticipate that I can help everybody. If I can't help you, I want to help you find the person who can help you. That message resonates with me deeply, because that's the sign of a good coach.
Yeah. And there's plenty of other coaches, and I just happen to know I'm not for everyone. So if I'm not, then I will help you find someone who is. Yeah.
Yeah. That's fabulous. I love that. So that's the first thing we like to do. The second thing we like to do is I like to go to Anne-Marie and have her kind of tie everything together, in part because she is a former listener and is now a co-host on the show. And that gives her that perspective of, what is the listener thinking and feeling and experiencing as they're listening to this thing. So that's why I always want to know what her take is on the guests and on the show itself. So Anne-Marie, what you've been thinking about as you have participated and listened to this conversation?
I found this such an empowering conversation, in the fact that, the whole mask conversation and, putting a mask on and, what the turning points can be to actually take that mask off. I think there's two things that have really stuck with me, is that whole inner glow, shining from the inside. That's so true. And when you feel great, you do look great. So I think it's focusing on yourself, what does make you shine from the inside. And then the other nugget I had was, choose your challenges. Don't let life choose them for you. Perfect.
As was that summary. Thank you very much. That was
I love that.
really, really good. Final thing I like to do, I started this a few years ago, because we've mentioned a few times we're living in the 21st century and we're dealing with all the modern technologies, and they're really cool. I mean, the social media can be depressing to some people at times, but nevertheless, it's still pretty cool stuff. I mean, you're in Hawaii, I'm in Connecticut, she's in the UK. We're able to have this conversation like we're, in the same living room. It's one of the marvels of the modern time. And as a result, we have new ways of outreach, new ways of talking to people. We do podcasts. I'm sure you contribute on the social media. I'm sure, you wrote a book. You probably do other things because you're trying to share your message with as many people as you can. And you're succeeding. You are being heard and read by people who you've never met, never seen, likely never will meet or will see. And you're affecting them in ways you didn't even know about. And that's where I realized there was a gap. And the gap is we don't get credit for that. So, Angie, on behalf of those people you've never met and never seen, never will meet, never will see, we've been helping in ways you didn't even know about, on their behalf, thank you for what you're doing, because you're making a difference in this world.
Yes, you are.
I love that. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it's important. We need to get credit for it, and we need to give credit for it, because otherwise.
And I actually do try to tell people where they've impacted me, but obviously you don't always get that opportunity. But it's super important. Yeah.
So thank you very much. Keep doing the work that you're doing. Best of luck, and with the book as well. And wow, I mean, the glow just says it all.
Thank you. Yeah, no, likewise, because I love your mission, and keep doing what you're doing. And thank you for having me on. I can promise you, I'm going to be doing this until I stop breathing. Okay, good. Yeah, partly because it's just so damn fun.
Yeah.
It really is.
I mean, originally the show was about law of attraction. We covered that in the first 200-300 episodes. I'm now on episode 2100 plus. You know, at some point I had to like shift gears and do something else in order to justify the fact that I love doing this so much. I needed to find a way to keep it going. So I just kind of,
but it's
kept going.
still embodied in a lot, because I've listened to other episodes, like it's still embodied though in the conversations you're having. So I think enough has been said on the specifics. So I love the branching out.
So do I, because it kept going. Otherwise I would have been really depressed. So thank you very much. Thank you, podcast listeners everywhere. And we will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.